Immersion. For some, the king. For others, the enemy. Nothing worse than getting too emotionally close to the play and being unable to learn from it. Now it's your turn to decide. What do you do? Welcome to Creative Contraband.
Welcome to How to Be a Better DM, the show that helps dungeon masters tell better stories and run more engaging games. This is Creative Contraband, where we take ideas from elsewhere and smuggle them into our craft to take it one step further. And remember, all of this is brought to you by Session Zero Studios.
Welcome to my humble abode, fellow GMs and DMs, to the 6th episode of this experiment called Creative Contraband. My name is Daniel, you can call me Danny, and I have been a semi-professional artist for about a decade now. I have worked in magic, theater and music, so hopefully I will find the right words to convey a couple of interesting and useful ideas. As you might already know, this is an experiment by the How to Be a Better DM team, where for 12 weeks I will be smuggling knowledge from other arts into our craft to make us all better players and artists. We are already halfway there, and if you like this content, make sure to let us know, because we might keep making content for you. You can do that by joining the Discord server in the description or by following us on Instagram at How to Be a Better DM podcast and at gamemaster.hof, H-O-F as in Hall of Fame. If you are listening to this segment, chances are you've watched at some point a TV series or movie or something where the fourth wall is broken. That means characters interact in some way with the audience, usually talking to them. This is a very old theatrical technique, centuries old, and it's been actively analyzed for almost 200 years. But what does this have to do with the case framework? Or, if you're new here, what even is the case framework? I want to talk primarily about 3 things today. 1. The case framework, 2. Immersion, and 3. Diegesis, or the fourth wall. Actually, I have seen the pronunciation of that word being diegesis or diegesis or whatever. In Spanish, it's diegesis. So I'm just going to say diegesis, and if that's not right, you can tell me in the comments. So, case framework, immersion, and diegesis, or fourth wall related concepts. And these might prove a little bit dense to work with, but I will do my best. So, we will start with the very needed definitions, then I will show you how they relate, and in the end I will give some tips. So, what is the case framework? The case framework is a tool developed by, as far as I know, Justin. Yes, our Justin Lewis. I looked it up in many places but didn't find anything, so I will assume he is the brain behind it. It's an acronym that stands for campaign, arc, session, encounter. And it is a way to organize the different layers of preparation that a DM has to think about in order to have a full picture. This is an insanely useful tool, and we will talk about it in a couple minutes, so keep the definition in mind. Campaign, arc, session, encounter. Immersion. Immersion we all understand kind of intuitively. It is something like how deep into the game or story we feel. How much are we suspending our disbelief to let us feel the emotions as if the story was real in a way. I mean, it is real, but that's a discussion for a different day. And third, the juggernaut. What the hell is diegesis? If you know what a fourth wall is, you are halfway there. So, Diegesis is a difficult concept to grasp, but for our purposes, it will mean the fictional space-time in which a story unfolds and all of its contents. I'm going to say it again. It's the fictional space-time in which our story unfolds and all of the contents of this space-time. That means that what happens in the world of the characters is diegetic, and what happens outside that world is extra diegetic. For example, if in a movie a character turns on the radio and music plays, then that music is diegetic, because it is inside the world of the characters. If in the same movie there is ambience music that the director uses for dramatic purposes, but the characters cannot hear it because there is no musical source in their world, then that is extra diegetic. When a character breaks the fourth wall and addresses the audience, the fictional world momentarily intersects with the real one, with our world. I might make a full episode only about this concept in D&D if you are interested, because as you might already realize, in TTRPGs the limit between both worlds is thinner and more ambiguous, with us getting in and out of character, and we use meta currencies like inspiration, for example. So yeah, I might do that. Let me know in the comment section if you would be interested, but for now, immersion and case framework. Before that though, if this is the first Creative Contraband episode you listen to, go listen to one of the previous episodes, ideally the first one. It will give you some context for how I think about art, GMing, and how they interact. Also, I want to mention that for one of the next episodes, I want to interview people of the community. Not necessarily content creators, but players, DMs, and just people. So let us know in the Discord if you would like to participate. The link is in the description. So, as for immersion, I think it is one of the great ways of making a campaign enjoyable. I love those moments when players are so touched by the story that real feelings and deep dialogues find their way onto the surface. Although that's my take, and I know many GMs share it, there is a case to be made for the exact opposite. But why would anyone do that? Well, it comes to the goal of your story or of your game. Bertolt Brecht, the German playwright of the 1940s, whom I have talked extensively about here, he didn't want people to get immersed in his plays. That's according to the myth because he had to make low production plays so he could escape from the police in the Second World War, but also because he wanted for people to keep thinking rationally. His plays were a vehicle for teachings about the social reality they were living in. So emotion was an obstacle for that. He wanted for people to be thinking clearly so they could approach the play and its teachings rationally. In a D&D game during the 2020s, that's probably a bit anachronistic, but we can adapt it to our reality. Also, a quick side note, there is knowledge from other arts that cannot be translated to TTRPGs. It seems obvious, but sometimes we seem to forget that. And knowledge not being translatable doesn't mean that it's not useful to have it. Understanding why something cannot be translated can be very, very valuable. Originally, my idea was to focus on those points too in this segment, and along the way I have forgotten to do it. I hope to remember doing that during the next weeks. So, immersion, Brecht, and present TTRPGs. Brecht had many different techniques to achieve this distancing, which he called Verfremdungseffekt, meaning literally defamiliarization or estrangement effect, although it's usually called distancing effect. The techniques he had were mostly related to playing with the diegesis through the breaking of the fourth wall, exaggeration, diegetically ambiguous music, etc. In TTRPGs, we have a great option imbued in the core of our discipline. Can you guess which one that is? Yes? No? It's the rule set, the tactical part of the games. They are great for taking the players out of the story for a moment. At every point we have the option of going to the rulebook, or taking a break, or asking for a roll, or asking for character sheet information, or whatever we want. Consider that sometimes the rule set reinforces immersion instead of breaking it, which can be the case of Dread, for example, the horror TTRPG, where a Jenga tower is used to represent and reinforce tension. In any case, why would we want this? Again, there are a good couple options. Maybe we sense the players are getting too involved in a looping, boring monologue or dialogue, for example, and we want to take them out of there. I do have a couple more cases, but I want to read your ideas this time, so leave them down in the comment section, please. Okay, finally, the framework. The case framework. Campaign, arc, session, encounter is a very practical tool because it lets you have a clear delimitation of the big picture of your campaign while also tracking the day-to-day aspects of your campaign. If you haven't used it yet, I highly recommend you start applying it, as it will make your prepping faster, more structured, and effective. That said, it has a weakness, which is surprisingly one of its bigger strengths. Can you tell what it is? I will give you a couple seconds to think about it. Got an idea? I will give you a clue. It has to do with one of the previous definitions. So I will give you another second. Yes? No? Okay, here I go. It has a theoretical weakness regarding diegesis. We have a campaign, arc, session, encounter, right? Let's think about it briefly. A session is a delimited period of time for us players. A session does not exist as such in the world of the characters. On the other hand, arcs are processes that the characters go through, but that don't have a delimited time or space in our table. An arc can be a year long, or a month, or a day. It can go through multiple campaigns or never end, especially when they are psychological processes. Encounters are both. They are diegetic events structured through extra diegetic design. And finally, campaigns, I would say, are both too, because we usually define or adapt the number of sessions to have a certain relationship to the bigger goal of the characters. So there is a dissonance between the different elements of the acronym, and that technically, theoretically, is not right. To have nested elements, they should all be in the same realm, theoretically, at least. But, and this is a big but, because this is a practical tool built for making prep easier and not as a fully theoretical thing, then that same dissonance is one of its bigger strengths. Because that means the case framework ends up being a hybrid tool. We don't need different tools to plan fictional events and, on the other hand, real-world things. And many times in art that happens. Like in a song, we have a topic, we have a 4-minute structure, and we have to connect them somehow. We have a chorus, we have sentences, and we have to connect them somehow. The case framework allows you to work intertwining both worlds to end up with a cohesive result between what happens in the world of the characters and how we organize it in our world, the extra diegetic world. So let's distill everything into ready to use stuff. Number 1, First and foremost, go use the case framework right now. Give it a try, and I promise you're not gonna stop. That's number 1. Number 2, have a clear goal in mind, ideally for each of your case elements. Diegetic and extra diegetic goals, like introducing a character, or making your players feel terror, or equipping the characters. The goal will help you determine if you want an immersive experience at that particular moment or not. And number 3, use the rules as a tool for balancing immersion, pace and rhythm, not only for resolution. Maybe even play with the Verfremdungseffekt. Yes, I am flexing my pronunciation of Verfremdungseffekt. I'm going to compensate all my English issues with that word. At the end of each episode, I will leave you with a word or quote that you might know or not, but that I think can help you level up your game as a DM and as an artist. Today's word is vestige, V-E-S-T-I-G-E, which is defined by Oxford as a small part of something that still exists after the rest of it has stopped existing. In your campaign, you could say something like, "These are the last vestiges of the old colonial regime." Or maybe something like, "The government has to remove any last vestiges of corruption." If you have another cool sentence, leave it in the comments so I can read it too. That's it for today. Thanks for joining us, and if you learned something new, please leave a comment, join the Discord, or share this with a friend. I know maybe friends are not D&D enthusiasts, but then you can share it in a community of like-minded people, in a Facebook group, or on Reddit, or whatever you think could be useful for other people. I can't say it enough, I want to tailor this segment to you, so I want to hear about your thoughts. Plus, that lets the team know that you appreciate my content and want to hear more of this segment. There are lessons in every craft, and I want to bring them all to your table. So we'll be back in 7 more days with another handcrafted episode. Until then, let's roll initiative.
This is Creative Contraband, brought to you by Session Zero Studios.